Listen carefully, because the people who smile the most are often the ones quietly moving pieces against you. This world does not reward innocence. It rewards awareness. It rewards perception. And it rewards those who understand how influence actually works behind polite faces and social rules. Machiavelli was never teaching cruelty. That's what uncomfortable minds claim when they fear uncomfortable truth. What he really taught was how to survive in environments where honesty is rarely mutual and fairness is often performative. Look around your workplace, your friendships, your daily interactions. The most dangerous people don't appear aggressive. They appear calm, reasonable, even supportive. But behind that calm exterior, they are positioning themselves, adjusting power silently while others remain distracted. Real influence doesn't come from loud dominance. It comes from patience, timing, and understanding how people behave when they think no one is paying attention. If someone plays unfairly with you, it doesn't mean they're more powerful. It means they understand human psychology at a deeper level than you were taught. They know how hesitation works. They understand how guilt weakens boundaries. They recognize how silence creates tension. And they rely on the fact that good people pause before acting. Kind people expect fairness. Strategic people expect patterns. This isn't about becoming ruthless. It isn't about lying, manipulating, or harming others. It's about recognizing the reality you already live in. Because ignoring the game doesn't remove you from it, it only makes you vulnerable inside it. By the end of this journey, you won't feel louder. You'll feel calmer, harder to provoke, more difficult to control. Before we go deeper, anchor this mindset. You don't need to change your morals, you need to upgrade your awareness. And stay focused, because what comes next explains why being too good makes you the easiest target. Here's an uncomfortable truth most people refuse to admit. The individuals targeted most often are not weak, they're predictable. Kindness, consistency, and transparency can become liabilities when exposed in environments where not everyone plays fair. People who exploit others don't hunt strength. They hunt patterns. They observe who always gives second chances, who feels guilty setting boundaries, who explains themselves too quickly, who hesitates before saying no. These traits are not flaws, but when visible, they become signals. A person with strong morals often assumes others operate under the same values. That assumption creates an opening. The moment you expect someone to act like you would, you hand them leverage over timing, tone, and outcome. Manipulative individuals don't overpower you. They wait for you to limit yourself. They test boundaries in small ways. A subtle delay, a minor misrepresentation, a quiet shift of responsibility. Then they observe your reaction. If you remain polite, they escalate. If you remain hopeful, they continue. If you explain instead of observing, they adjust their tactics. Every reaction teaches them how far they can go. Many good people believe restraint earns respect. But restraint without leverage often invites pressure instead. When someone realizes you always prioritize harmony over position, they stop negotiating and start calculating. The real danger isn't kindness. It's being readable. Those who seek control fear uncertainty more than ethics. They avoid people whose limits are unclear. They hesitate around individuals who don't reveal thresholds too early. The solution isn't cruelty. It's strategic privacy. You don't need to change who you are. You need to control what others get to see. Once you stop assuming decency, you regain leverage. Once you stop explaining everything, you regain control. And what you'll learn next will reveal why sometimes appearing less capable makes you far more powerful. Raw strength attracts resistance, but subtle strength attracts opportunity. People expect loud dominance. They prepare for it. They defend against it. They guard themselves around it. But when power is quiet, underestimated, or concealed, others relax and reveal far more than they intend to. This is where controlled weakness becomes a strategic advantage. When people think they have the upper hand, they rush. They over-explain. They show their real motives. Most people make the mistake of proving intelligence too quickly. They clarify. They correct. They demonstrate competence. And in doing so, they shut down the flow of information coming toward them. When others realize you're fully aware, they become guarded. But when they assume you're not paying attention, they expose everything. There's power in letting assumptions exist. If someone thinks you missed a detail, they feel safe repeating it. Patterns form. Intent becomes visible. Strategy becomes readable. True influence lies in selective display. You choose when to assert, when to observe, when to hold back, and when to reveal capability. This unpredictability makes it harder for others to calculate your next move. It also disrupts expectations. People anticipate resistance from strength, but they don't anticipate patience from competence. The goal is not to win early. The goal is to gather leverage quietly. And as we move forward, you'll discover why explaining yourself, even when you're right, often weakens your position more than staying silent. Most people believe that explaining themselves builds trust. In reality, it often weakens authority. The moment you start justifying your decisions, motives, or actions, you hand over interpretive control. What began as clarity turns into negotiation. Instead of standing on position, you drift into seeking approval. Those who manipulate don't argue your results, they dissect your reasoning. Reasoning can be twisted, can be reframed, can be quoted out of context. Every explanation creates angles, and angles create openings. The more you say, the more material exists to challenge. Silence works differently. Silence offers nothing to distort, nothing to edit, nothing to weaponize. What remains unsaid cannot easily be reframed against you. Explaining also reveals what matters to you. It exposes your emotional triggers, your fears of being misunderstood, and the pressure points others can exploit. What feels like honesty becomes a roadmap. There's another shift that happens once you begin explaining. You become invested in being understood. That investment makes you reactive. You start correcting interpretations, defending tone, clarifying intent. Slowly, the conversation shifts from facts to narrative control, and narrative control favors the person asking the questions. True authority doesn't over-explain. It announces decisions. It acts without excessive defense. This doesn't mean becoming evasive. It means understanding that not every move requires commentary, and not every decision deserves justification. Power is preserved not by speaking more, but by choosing when silence carries more weight. And next, you'll learn how the most effective manipulators don't attack you directly. They shape the environment so you defeat yourself. The smartest manipulators rarely confront. They reposition. Instead of attacking you directly, they design situations where every possible reaction works against you. You're not forced into conflict, you're guided into it. The counter is not aggression. It's composure and awareness. When you slow down, you disrupt their design. When you refuse to play the assigned role, their script weakens. When you respond minimally, their framing collapses. They depend on predictability. Remove it and their positioning loses power. And in the next part, you'll uncover why fairness, something most people rely on, can quietly become one of the biggest traps. Fairness feels safe, but safety does not always equal strength. Fairness only works when all sides honor the same rules. The moment one person abandons those rules while the other remains loyal to them, fairness turns into a vulnerability. Those who exploit others recognize when someone is committed to being reasonable no matter the context. They step outside boundaries while expecting you to stay inside them. You hesitate. They advance. You weigh ethics. They measure advantage. The imbalance decides the outcome before the conversation even finishes. The danger isn't kindness, it's rigidity. The alternative isn't cruelty, it's accuracy. Accuracy responds to reality, not ideals. It adjusts to behavior, not intention. It enforces boundaries without apology. Those who exploit others often accuse you of being unfair the moment you enforce limits, because guilt is a tool they use to pull you back into hesitation. Once you release the need to appear fair to people acting in bad faith, clarity returns. Decisions simplify, boundaries strengthen. And next, you'll learn why delaying your response, instead of reacting instantly, can quietly shift power in your favor. Most people believe fast reactions show confidence. In reality, speed often reveals vulnerability. Those who seek control thrive on urgency. They pressure you to respond quickly, decide instantly, and react emotionally, because momentum reduces your ability to think clearly. When you rush, you leak information. When you pause, you gather it. A delayed response disrupts expectation. Many people fear that waiting looks weak. In truth, restraint communicates control. It signals options. It implies evaluation rather than defense. Authority is associated with calm timing, not emotional speed. This doesn't mean avoiding decisions. It means choosing the moment that maximizes leverage. Respond when clarity improves. Move when pressure shifts. Act when the other side has already exposed more than they intended. And next, you'll discover why manipulators often try to destabilize your identity, and how protecting your sense of self protects your power. One of the fastest ways to control someone is to make them doubt who they are. When a person loses internal certainty, they start seeking external validation. Instead of trusting instinct, they look outward for approval, reassurance, and direction. That dependence creates an opening. Those who exploit others rarely attack behavior directly. Instead, they question identity. They make subtle remarks. They compare you to your past self. They frame change as decline. They disguise manipulation as concern. The goal isn't correction, it's disorientation. The defense is internal anchoring. Define your values privately, not socially. Trust your internal compass over outside noise. Allow growth, but only when it's chosen, not induced through pressure. When identity is grounded internally, manipulation becomes obvious instead of persuasive. Attempts to destabilize feel transparent. The strongest position isn't rigid certainty. It's self-trust. And next, you'll learn why controlled unpredictability, not consistency, often creates the strongest strategic advantage. Predictability feels comfortable, but comfort creates leverage for others. When your behavior follows a fixed pattern, it becomes easy to anticipate. Anticipation enables planning. Planning creates influence. Those who manipulate depend on this sequence. They don't fear strength. They fear unpredictability. Controlled inconsistency disrupts their calculations. This doesn't mean acting randomly. It means choosing when to engage and when to withdraw, when to respond quickly and when to delay, when to be open and when to remain reserved. When your reactions vary intentionally, others can't lock onto a reliable model of you. Without a model, their planning weakens. The key is intentionality. Randomness without awareness creates chaos. Variation with purpose creates power. You don't offer the same version of yourself to everyone. You decide what to reveal, when to reveal it, and to whom. When unpredictability is applied correctly, others begin adapting to you instead of you adapting to them. And next, you'll see why sometimes the strongest move isn't engaging at all, but walking away entirely. Walking away unsettles people who rely on reaction. Those who manipulate expect engagement. They anticipate argument, defense, or explanation.
Participation confirme relevance.
When you disengage, the structure they rely on collapses.
Absence remove leverage.
Without response, their effort loses direction. Without feedback, their confidence weakens. Without attention, their tactics lose purpose. Silence creates uncertainty, and uncertainty creates fear. Those who remain calm while walking away appear unbothered. Those chasing reaction appear invested. Observers notice the difference. This doesn't mean disappearing permanently, it means choosing presence strategically. The strongest signal isn't resistance, it's indifference. And next, you'll learn the final truth behind becoming mentally untouchable, and why true power isn't about domination, but elevation beyond reach. True power doesn't come from constant conflict, it comes from position. Those who seek resolution at all costs trap themselves in endless cycles. Those who prioritize placement rise above recurring battles. The real objective isn't winning arguments. It's becoming unreachable. Manipulators operate where access exists. They provoke where reaction is likely. They invest energy where influence is possible. Close those channels and their effort fades. Influence weakens when interaction becomes costly. True position balances stable values with flexible behavior. Principles remain consistent. Expression varies. This combination confuses those seeking leverage while grounding those observing. Untouchability changes reputation. People sense when boundaries exist without being announced. They feel when access is optional rather than automatic. Respect isn't demanded, it's detected. When you stop chasing outcomes, outcomes shift. When you stop defending identity, identity stabilizes. When you stop reacting on command, influence weakens. And next, you'll see why removing predictability, not adding force, is what truly elevates power. Power doesn't shout. It doesn't rush. And it rarely explains itself. The more you try to prove intentions, justify behavior, or chase approval, the more predictable you become. Predictability makes you easier to pressure. Removing predictability removes leverage. The most effective people don't mirror chaos. Mirroring keeps you trapped inside someone else's frame. Instead, they step back, observe patterns, and adjust environment rather than reacting to it. Clarity beats impulse. Position beats reaction. Self-command beats emotional urgency. And next, you'll learn why those who control energy, not arguments, become the hardest people to manipulate. Energy is leverage. Where you place your attention, emotion, and effort determines who controls you. Those who seek influence aim for emotional engagement, because emotional engagement creates reaction. When you conserve energy, influence weakens. You don't owe everyone access to your time. You don't owe every situation a response. You don't owe every provocation a reaction. When energy becomes selective, people become careful. Those who can't provoke you lose motivation. Those who can't pressure you lose strategy. Those who can't predict you lose control. Reserving energy signals autonomy. Communicates that engagement is earned, not automatic. The more disciplined your energy flow, the harder you are to manipulate. And next, you'll discover how mastering internal state makes external pressure irrelevant. The strongest defense isn't resistance. It's emotional neutrality. When your internal state stays steady, external tactics lose power. Manipulation depends on emotional reaction. Remove the reaction and the tactic collapses. You don't need to fight every attempt. You don't need to respond to every trigger. You don't need to match anyone's intensity. Calmness becomes a barrier. When emotions settle, clarity rises. When clarity rises, impulse fades. Decisions become intentional rather than reactive. Those who maintain emotional control appear grounded, confident, and difficult to provoke. Others sense stability and adjust their behavior accordingly. Internal control turns pressure into noise. And next, the final message will tie everything together, showing how to rise above manipulation without becoming cold or ruthless. You don't win by playing dirty. You win by becoming unreachable. True strength isn't loud. It isn't aggressive. It isn't reactive. It's quiet, deliberate, and grounded in awareness. You don't need to mirror chaos. You don't need to chase control. You don't need to dominate anyone. You need to master yourself. When your reactions slow, your emotions stabilize, and your energy becomes selective, people treat you differently. Not because you threaten them, but because they can't read you anymore. Unreadable people are expensive to manipulate. You don't need to fight every move. You don't need to prove every intention. You don't need to correct every misunderstanding. Your job isn't to convince, it's to position. Once people realize you don't chase approval, don't panic under pressure, and don't react on command, their behavior shifts. Manipulation only works where access is cheap. Remove cheap access and the game changes. Power doesn't add noise. It removes predictability. Stay aware. Stay composed. Stay mentally untouchable.